welcome to the Technology Geek podcast. I am your host, Brandon Lapani, the Technology Geek, and we are here as we are every week to talk about computers, the internet, Linux, Windows, pretty much anything geek and anything technical. So that's why we are the Technology Geek. This is our 26th podcast already. 26 of them already. And it's really, like I said, really wonderful to have this platform to talk about things. Did get some listener feedback about last show. We'll get in, of course, to all that. Some other things, just want to first of all call out our sponsor, allamericancomputerrepair.com, offering remote support, offering SEO, offering web development, offering all different types of services. That's allamericancomputerrepair.com, and they're our sponsors for this show, as well as Audible. audibletrial.com/techgeek, and that's TECHGEEK. Don't confuse that with our other code. We also have another trial code for ProXPN, but don't confuse the two. And let me tell you, it's really wonderful service. You can listen to podcasts, books, all that stuff on the go. They have a wonderful mobile app. They really do. I like it better than any other app for listening to audiobooks. So they're really wonderful service, and that's audibletrial.com/techgeek. And, of course, let's not forget about our friends over at ProXPN, cloud-based VPN solution. They're really a wonderful service, and they offer a free trial. I believe they offer a trial and something else along with our trial code. So that's TechGeek, TECGEEK, and that's for a coupon code for them. And, again, that's ProXPN.com, a cloud-based solution, obviously, for your browsing needs. So, as always, a lot of stuff to talk about. Also, too, like I said, we are doing something different here at the Technology Geek. We want you to call in. Obviously, we don't mind if you go to the site, thetechnologygeek.org. We encourage it. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of our sources of media. But as always, folks, you can go there, and we do have you can call us free on Google Talk, or you can go ahead and call us 570-630-0744, and feel free to leave your feedback. We always enjoy the listener feedback, but also you can go to thetechnologygeeks.org and go ahead and fill out the form there, or send me an email directly. We appreciate all the feedback, the questions, all that stuff. That's what this show was for. A lot of people having mixed reviews about the whole government shutdown, the way people felt. I know everybody has their personal opinions on that, and that's obviously, when it comes to politics, everybody does have their own view on things. But I felt like venting last week, and got some mixed feelings, reviews on. They're saying well, this isn't a political show; it's a tech show, and it is. But the whole thing with the government shutdown really does affect everybody. So some other news as well when talking about the government shutdown. Obviously, things back to work as of Thursday now, so a lot of people will be back to work again, so good for them. Some other news as well as far as geek news goes. Nirvava having a possible Hall of Fame induction, talking about that. They're somebody that really way overdue. Obviously, Kurt Cobain dying at 27 years old, very bright guy as far as the music industry goes, maybe not so bright in his personal life, but definitely a genius in the music world. And let's not forget, too, some other stuff as well. There's a new single out by Avril Lavigne and Chad Kroeger talking about kind of like more of a Halloween type of thing. Video, Let Me Go. It's actually a very good video. I actually watched it myself. It's actually a pretty catchy tune, but talking about the Halloween, everything. So it's kind of like a Halloween kind of look and feel. You have to really watch the video to understand it. But some other things as well going on. SiriusXM, obviously, as those of you that didn't hear, I know a lot of people are subscribers on SiriusXM, but SiriusXM lost a lot of Clear Channel channels this week, and I know myself, I'm a little bit upset about it. I went with XM over Sirius originally before the merger because they had all those Clear Channel stations. When they did do the merger, XM still only had them. Sirius did not. And now, obviously, because of this whole, on the 18th, the loss of the contract with Clear Channel, a lot of people were very upset with the loss of a lot of good channels on Sirius. From what I've read so far on the news, they lost like The Sixth Sense, which was a great show on 242. That's gone now. Fox Sports is gone. Talk Radio is gone. The Talk Radio is the name of a channel. It's not all Talk Radio is gone, but that's the name of the channel. ReachMD is gone. America's Talk Channel's gone. Extreme Talk is gone, as well as a lot of great FM stations out of New York are all gone now. So very unfortunate that they would lose all those channels in one foul swoop. A lot of people like myself very upset about it. And it's very hard to really, I understand that SiriusXM has to cut ties with people like this. They have to because, obviously they've been bought out and stuff like that. So they're changing hands now and all that. But, it really is, unfortunate to see people, a company like SiriusXM really, losing all these great channels. Especially when you talk about America's Talk, you had Leo Laporte, the tech guy, on there. He was a great show. You had Alex Jones on there. Nikki Sixx always did a great music show all the time. Fox Sports, obviously huge conglomerate there. Extreme Talk, Dave Ramsey. You're losing quite a few people on the thing. So I'm very scared for them to see if they will go ahead and actually lose. If they will lose any subscribers at all. Obviously, they lost Coast to Coast AM, but they don't really care about that because now obviously they have Art Bell. As far as political shows go, maybe they don't care if they lose it. Obviously, they have their own Political Plus. They have, obviously, The Patriot. They have a lot of political shows on there. So perhaps they don't care about losing the channels. But I know people like myself, as well as some other people I know that have the service, very upset about losing them. And I'm sure they're not going to get them back. But, again, things are what they are. And, as most of you know, maybe about if you listen to the podcast, we followed it. The takeover and all that type of stuff. So, and I'm not surprised Clear Channel pulled out. Obviously, Clear Channel owning iHeartRadio, they probably want people to go over to their app because the SiriusXM app online is actually a huge revenue generator for Sirius because a lot of people just have the online listening and they don't have a radio in the car. Obviously, radios in the car are still a huge revenue for them according to their numbers, but, a lot of people just listen online. So that was in the news, and so if those of you have a Sirius radio, if you can, not sure exactly what you're going to do. If you have a Sirius radio, it doesn't really affect you, but if you have an XM radio, it does. So some other news as well, kind of neat since we are talking about things geek right now, talking about tech and all that as we do every week. But there's a great website called I think it's Kanzenshuu. I'll put it in the show notes. They're actually really cool. I actually talked to the guy the other day. He's a big Dragon Ball Z fan, big anime fan, all that stuff, talking about the comic books, the shows, obviously brought into America by Funimation, as well as some other stuff. I was just talking to him the other day over email. Really cool guy, really, really great podcast on there. And he's actually got a cool handle to it. It's Vegito EX is actually his actual handle, but a really cool guy, and I was talking to him the other day a little bit. Wonderful show, wonderful website. Definitely is worth checking it out. He does the show live from his basement, just like we kind of do here from the I'll say the basement, but I guess my home office. I hate to say the word basement. It's not really in a basement. But, he does it right from his home office. Really great guy, really great show. If you're into anime and Dragon Ball at all, it's definitely worth listening to. He doesn't just cover the shows that are on Nick or anything like that. He actually goes ahead and actually covers the Japanese comics and all that type of stuff. It definitely is a great show, worth checking out. He's a really nice guy, and it definitely is worth definitely check it out. It's if you're into anime at all, it's worth checking out. I'm also into the Trigun series. I actually did like Pokemon and stuff like that, the Japanese version of it. Fatal Fury, Streets of Rage, so many wonderful animes that came out, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. Definitely a fan of it myself. I know I've gotten quite a few listener feedback about them and talked about them a little bit. That's why I don't talk about that. I do. We just always end up talking about tech. We sometimes do miss some of the geek stuff. But definitely, if you're into anime, definitely check his website out. It's definitely a great, cool website. And some other things as well. When talking about, we actually got a couple emails actually from people talking about, well, if you're into geek, how come you don't talk about like RPGs and stuff like that? RPGs, role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. And I guess we don't talk about that stuff as much as we should on the geek. Since we are the Technology Geek show, we don't talk about geek as much as we should. We mostly stay on tech because that's, I guess, more of my area of comfort. But somebody definitely talked to me about that. And it's actually really neat when you actually start playing. I've actually played D&D a little bit. More. I'm more like I kind of more of a. I guess I'm more like a hatchling type of guy. Like the and I'm more of the. Yeah, I've been talking about. I'm really more of a. I really like more. I can't really say I'm not really huge. I'm a fan of it. I've played it a little bit, but I can't say I wouldn't call myself a dungeon master or anything like that. I'm definitely not up to par on that. Not anything against anybody that is. I'm just, I don't really play it as much as I should, and that's just because I don't have many people to play with anymore. I play with some friends over Skype once in a while, but I'm definitely not a dungeon master. But I do play. I do like playing a warrior. I do like playing, a wizard. Like I said, I have a friend of mine, Sam. Really cool guy. He probably knows those D&D books by heart. And what's amazing is that how that's branched off in its own, taking on the world of its own with, it started just D&D, then it went to, I remember when the animes hit, people were doing, Dragon Ball, D&D, they were doing Pokemon D&D, and then the games, obviously, video games themselves took a spin-off with, Final Fantasy and things of that nature, so they've really taken on a real life of their own. I do like RPGs. I was a big, Zelda fan as a kid. I like the video games and stuff. But the board games I don't play as much as I should, but I definitely want to get into it. If anybody has a D&D group that's looking to get somebody in on Saturday night via Skype, I would definitely be willing to play with you guys. So definitely keep me in mind, and definitely, anybody that's interested, definitely, Skype me at Lapani Tech, and I can definitely, I can get in on Saturday night. I'm game for that stuff. So... But like I said, it's definitely, when it comes to the board games and stuff like that, like I said, I definitely think they're awesome. I like playing them. But unfortunately, I haven't had much time to play lately. When you're running a business full-time as well as doing this, it does eat into your time, especially when you have, not even so much because you have a family, but just, it's just tough when you're a full-time business owner and you're doing stuff like this. It's just, there's very, very little time to do anything hobby-wise. And I'm also an amateur radio operator as well, and I'm pretty involved with that. Part of, Racy's and Aries group and stuff. And we do a lot with emergency communication stuff, so I'm very busy with that. So I don't get as much time as I can to do little other hobbies that I used to do. But I am, by the way, for those of you that are ham operators, I know I was just talking to a couple guys the other day on the air. There was a bit of a pile up. I sent out a tweet and an email and stuff, and I told people when I'd be on and what station and frequency I'd be on, and we have such a great audience, and it was kind of a pile up. Everybody trying to get on to talk to me, so I didn't get to talk to as many people as I would have liked. But we're definitely grateful to have a lot of you wonderful fans, and especially fans of that are ham radio operators as well. We do try to get on, as much as I can to talk to you guys, but I haven't had a chance. I haven't been on the air as much at all lately. It hasn't been. I've been mostly sticking around like the 2-meter range and things of that nature. I haven't been. I worked I went down to the 70 centimeter and stuff like that, 444 stuff like that. Last week I was working a lot of the local lower bands, which is fine. But I haven't really had been a chance to get up on the upper bands like the 40 I used to be really on the 40 a lot. I used to like the 40. And I haven't been on the 80 as much as I usually have, but I do try to get on as much as I can. And we did have a bit of a pile up the other night when I did run into some fans of the podcast and some other customers and stuff like that. We all tried to try to get a net going. It was actually very successful, but unfortunately we did have a huge pile up. So we'll try again maybe within the next week or two. I'll send out a tweet and send it up on the Facebook and stuff, and we can try to get. But it's amazing how many hams actually listen to the show. I think it's because we do a lot. We support the ham. There's a Ham Nation show out there, and there's a couple other good ham shows, QRT, and some other good ham podcasts that we listen to and participate in and stuff. So it's very great. We really have a great collection of ham operators that do listen to the show. And like I said, we try to get on as much as I can, but unfortunately, when you're running a business and trying to juggle 2 or 3 other things, it makes it sometimes very hard to get online and really talk to the fellow hams. But I do try to get online as much as I can, so maybe that's the reason why I don't have as much time as I used to play RPGs or do watch anime. But I do try. I took in a couple Dragon Ball movies over the weekend that were definitely good. And, if anybody has any comments, again, always, anything to add to the conversation or when it comes to ham radio, anime, RPGs, anything, again, the phone number, free on our website to call us from Google Talk, or the 570-630-0744. And a lot of people say all the time, well, it's not a 1-800 number. I don't know if 1-800 numbers or 1-866s or 1-888s are really that popular anymore. I mean, I don't know anybody that pays long-distance charges anymore. I just don't. Nowadays with things being what they are, I don't know. I know we have a landline for our business, but I know a lot of people that just have the Magic Jack, and I know a lot of people that just have, their cell phones and stuff, and they don't care about long distance because as long as they're under their minutes, they're not paying long distance charges. So that's one of the reasons why we don't have an 800 number. We just don't bother with it. For that simple reason is if you're going to call us for your phone or from your desktop with Google Talk and just leave a message. It doesn't, that's just the way we've been doing things, recently, and it's working out pretty good for us. I don't think I've had anybody complain except for one or two people saying we don't have an 800 number, but it is what it is. So some other stuff going on in tech news, which I haven't worked with it too much, but obviously this past week the Windows 8.1 came out. A lot of, I did get a lot of people sending me feedback about that, talking about how they weren't able to go ahead and get it installed or it was downloading for hours. One thing I've learned is when an update comes out for Windows, or when an update comes out for anything for that matter, even when it comes to stuff like the iPhone updates and stuff like that, you can't try to download them on that day because it's just like amateur radio. You usually have a pile up. And by the way, I just received a tweet, which is kind of funny. Somebody just said to me, well, we don't know the feeling because every time Art Bell is on the air, there's always a pile up to try to talk to him. Yeah, Art Bell's a big ham. I know that. Really cool, really, really wonderful broadcaster. For those of you who don't know, he was actually the founder of Coast to Coast AM. Then he actually went over and started doing the show on Sirius Dark Matter, which I think was a big upgrade for him over doing Coast to Coast anymore. But he's a big ham, and when he gets on, it's always a pile up. I definitely don't have the audience that he does. Obviously, he's got just this massive audience. But yeah, I do know what you're talking about. There was a pile up to talk to him, but I've tried to get in on that myself, and I was never able to. He's always a little too busy, or you just can't get in. There's just such a pile up. But going back to what I said about Windows 8.1, definitely a pile up to try to go ahead and get on. Windows, this is a big change from Windows. I haven't had a chance to test it yet because, again, I haven't had a chance to download it because there's been such a massive amount of people downloading it. I think people want this upgrade, so I haven't had a chance to actually get to it yet. There are some reviews on the internet about it, some podcasts about it that I have not had a chance to get to yet, but I will. But that did come out this week. Like I said, mixed reviews about it. I think it's going to come down to personal preference ultimately in the end, but again, there is definitely some mixed reviews about it. So, for those of you, like I said, that do try it, if you want to call in with some feedback or send us an email with some feedback, we greatly appreciate it. But it was released this week. Nokia offering first DSLR with Wi-Fi and GPS. That was news this week. That was up on Mashable. Their Nokia, definitely the wireless cameras. There's even a camera now I know of that actually goes ahead and you can actually take the pictures with the camera and then it'll actually sync it over to your cell phone so you can do whatever you want to do with it with social media and all that. That was something, actually I heard about it. Ironically enough, I heard about it on the Opie and Anthony show because Anthony Acuña just got one the day it came out. That was news over on there. And they were talking about it. And from what he was saying and how he tried it with his iPhone, it worked really, really well. I don't know how it works in the Android phones. I'm sure it does work. But I have not actually tried it yet. But I heard about that. It does sound like a great feature because that's always been the hang-up, with cameras. I take a picture. Now I got to go home, plug it into the computer, and put it on Facebook or Twitter. And it's always been the camera companies really have, in my opinion, have been behind on this because – it's one of those things where, now I'm taking the picture, I'm in the moment, and now I have to either put my camera down and take a picture of my phone and post it up on Facebook or Twitter, or I got to wait till I get home. And the camera companies have really been behind on this, but I think they're finally starting to get on the bandwagon with it because you're not going to, people are in the moment, they want to take it and post it. So with this new feature with the Wi-Fi, the GPS, and now with these new camera features where you can push the phone, the pictures you want over to your iPhone or to your Android phone. I think that's definitely going to be the future of the way cell phones are going to work. And I think it's something that definitely is something that's been way overdue. And the camera companies know this, and they've been hurting because of it. I mean, I personally myself don't have a digital camera. My fiance does. I don't have one. For the simple reason is I don't want to take a picture and have to wait to put it up on Facebook. I'll just take it with my phone and push it up. I think camera companies are starting to realize that. I remember when cameras were able to take video, that was a huge thing, and now it's gotten even bigger with YouTube. The cameras have to be able to take video, because if not, it's just like, it's just one of those things. Like, why can't I take video? Everybody takes video nowadays. I mean, look at how Vine has just exploded over the last year. So it's very important to go ahead and, and cameras to be able to do these sort of things. And I really think the camera companies have been very, very behind on them. But it looks like they're starting to catch up now. So that's definitely a plus for them. These camera companies don't want to end up like Kodak or like the other camera companies. They need to stay on top of things and really keep things new and fresh, because if not, they're not going to make it. So there's some other news as well, talking about the NSA apparently is gathering millions of emails from your IM contact list. That was on the news, and I was saying Apple and the NSA can read your iMessages. That was all in the news this week. There hasn't been too many. There's been some confirmed reports, some not. I don't know exactly. A lot of people did have questions about this, which is why I brought it up on the air. I can't tell you yes or no if they are or if they aren't. I can tell you, though, I wouldn't be surprised if they could. So let's just leave it at that. But that was on the news this week. So T-Mobile, I guess, CEO tweeted, some information talking about possibly what the carrier might have some plans with the iPad. Not a whole lot of information yet. He said some information possibly foreshadowing what was going to happen, but we don't exactly know what's going on yet with it. I'm sure more will come out as the week progresses. And as Apple does have an event scheduled, I believe it's for this week. So I'm sure we'll find out more, but that's about all I got for you right now as far as Apple. Twitter, obviously they're going to be IPOing soon on the New York Stock Exchange. They actually just they hired Google advertising executive to head up their IPO. A lot of people from Google seem to be going to other places, not saying that Google is obviously probably one of the best .coms, one of the best ran .coms, but a lot of people jumping ship to other companies. Not sure why, but they do put out good people. I mean, look at what Melissa Maris has done for Yahoo. Look at what a couple other of the big executives have done for these other companies. So yeah, Google definitely hires good people, and then when the people leave and go other places, it just shows you how good they actually were. So, and a lot of people that don't know this is kind of actually neat. I actually found this out the other day. One of the people that actually worked on the Skypezilla project actually was one of the people that went to Google but actually worked on Google Hangouts. So I actually found that out the other day. I thought that was pretty neat. Some other things as well going on. Acer has already its second-gen 8-inch Windows tablet on W4, so that was on the news this week as well. Intel CEO says $99 tablets are coming this holiday season. That was on the news. Some other things as well is kind of interesting in the news. Mark Zuckerberg obviously spending like $30 million to buy houses around him. That was like last week's news, but definitely, he's working very, very hard to protect his privacy, buying up the homes around him because he doesn't want anybody around him. He wants his privacy, his peace and quiet. But yet, this week, Facebook lowers these age rules to allow teens to post publicly. That was on the news. It's something that's, he's working very, very hard to protect his privacy, but, he doesn't really care about the privacy of others. But that was in the news this week. Again, like I said, Twitter going to list on the New York Stock Exchange. Really glad they're going to be over on the New York Stock Exchange. I think a lot of them, too many .coms have been over on the other one. I think the majority of them are over. Maybe not on the Dow Jones. I think they're on. Forget what the other one. I forget most of them. But it's very rare to have a tech company list on the New York Stock Exchange. Most of them list. I believe it's. I don't know if it's on the. They list on the other market. I forget the name of it. The name of the market escapes me, but. This is one of the first big tech companies to list on the New York Stock Exchange in a very long time. So, Pinterest drives more traffic, they're saying, to publishers than Twitter, LinkedIn, and Reddit because of the way they're picture-driven and the way the way they design their information. I believe that. Also, too, they're very, very strongly indexed by Google. I know myself, my Pinterest links come up quicker than anything else. So, but they were saying from social networks, it looks like they're definitely starting to drive more traffic people's way than most. So Facebook obviously still number one, but Pinterest is beating out Google, StumbleUpon, YouTube, Reddit, LinkedIn, all of them. So Facebook, like I said, still is number one with the amount of social media traffic pushing people over to different websites. So, but definitely, like I said, Pinterest is on the rise with that. But they are definitely beating out a lot of the other social networks. So that's good for them. But that was in the news. So those of you, Facebook and Pinterest are the places you want to go if you want to drive traffic to your podcast and blog, just so everybody knows that. Apple hires, believe it or not, Burberry CEO as it heads to retail. Kind of neat that Apple doesn't, it's kind of shocking to see Apple hiring. I guess they're trying to change the way the retail business is, and I was just kind of neat to see them hiring. Again, they had put kind of a freeze on hiring for a while. Not that they were doing bad or anything like that, but they kind of were just kind of holding on because they were trying to restructure a little bit. Now that, I guess ever since Steve Jobs left, they've been trying to restructure their company, but I guess now they figured out how they're going to restructure and they started hiring again. But apparently, she's going to be senior vice president of retail and online on their online store. The company has announced a newly created position that will report directly to Apple CEO Tim Cook. Her duties will include strategic direction, expansion, and operation of Apple's retail and online stores. She will assume the new position in the spring. So Apple has previous ties to Burberry, and last month, and the two companies partnered for the New York Fashion Week, during which Burberry used the iPhone 5S on a runway to capture its spring and summer 2014 collection. So apparently that was in the news this week. Some other news as well as we roll through the news, because there was actually quite a bit of it this week. And there's always a lot of tech news, but this week there just needs to be a large amount of it. Let me try that one again. Google Play redesign highlights the tablet app. So Google Play did have a redesign this past week, and it was released. Kind of a neat looking redesign. I kind of liked it. It kind of made a little more flashy, a little more look, and also the way it did the way Google Play designed it, kind of gave more of a brick layer and stuff like that. It actually looks really, really cool. I like it. So Sony Pictures apparently to produce the next big Netflix show. This was actually major news as far as what was going on, because Netflix has been trying to get on the set-top boxes. We'll get into that shortly, but Netflix, apparently their next big drama, psychological thriller series from creators of Damages will be made by Sony Pictures, the first major studio to create a series for Netflix following its recent success of ABC's Breaking Bad. According to the co-executive producers, Todd Kessler, Dave Zellman, and Glenn Kelsey, I guess they're going to do a 13-episode series centers around the family of adult siblings whose secrets and scares are revealed when the black sheep of the brother returns home. The production will begin in early 2014. So that was news. Also, too, Netflix was also the center of some news with coming to the set-top boxes. That was big news this week. Apparently, the Netflix and its long-standing rival, the cable industry, may finally be, coming together. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Netflix is in the early stages of discussing with several U.S. cable providers, including Comcast Communications, to install its services as an app on their set-top boxes. Netflix is already making its app available to about 1.7 million TiVo owners in the UK, thanks to the deal signed by Virgin Media in the UK last month. And this is definitely huge, folks, because if Netflix has always been just doing online stuff, this will actually put them right on the set-top box. Netflix actually has, obviously, It's an add-on for consoles like the 360, Apple TV, the Roku. Now they have, they're on the Chromecast, obviously. They're majorly in with the Chromecast. But this is actually huge. This would actually make Netflix even bigger than what it is now. And it's really good for them to see a company that was really struggling there for a couple of years now, really coming back harder than ever before, and being a major competitor to places like Hulu and HBO. So Apple have some rumors out that they're going to release a 12-inch Retina MacBook in 2014. That's a rumor. I don't know how true it is, but that's the rumor that's going around right now. That was on Mashable. Foursquare opening up advertising to all businesses. Foursquare is something I have mixed feelings about. I'm not somebody that says, oh, okay, I don't like telling people where I am. That doesn't bother me at all. After about a couple of weeks of it, I just got bored with it, checking in everywhere I was going. It just started getting really boring to me. I just didn't care for it anymore. It wasn't that it was a bad app or something I didn't care for. It just got bored. Like, okay, I checked in here. Okay, I checked in here. I checked in here. Like, after a while, it got to be more of a chore than it did fun anymore. So I know you can unlock things, stuff like that, and it is a cool idea. But to me, it just kind of lost its zing after a while. But they're opening up advertising now to quite a few all businesses now, actually. So because they do have to make some revenue. The company really. They have tons of people, but they're not a huge revenue generator yet. So, some other news as well as far as gaming, Batman Arkham Origins you get some free to play mobile game. That was news as well this week for the gamers that listen to the show, which we do appreciate that. And like I said, it definitely is. This is definitely something cool. Batman Origins will have free-to-play mobile version out later this year. Warner Bros. Interactive announced at the New York Comic-Con the past weekend. So definitely something cool that they're going ahead and they're going to have a free-to-play mobile game allowing players to unlock different outfits as they progress using the game. Currently, to buy new, unique bat suits, user who also own the console version of Arkham Origins will get access to exclusive material through play. The mobile Arkham Origins was developed by, I can't pronounce the name of the studio, which has also created the mobile version as well. So the game coming out announced at Comic-Con, and definitely something cool. Obviously October, developed by Warner Bros. Batman Arkham Origins is out October 25th for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, the Wii U, and the PC. So definitely a really cool game. I like it. It looks really cool. The trailer is out for it. It definitely is worth taking a look at. So some other things as well. Yahoo acquires Bread, and now the URL shortener is Toast. Looks like it was another purchase by Yahoo, and it looks like I think they're gonna just take their information. I think they're gonna fold the actual company itself. Links include interlink. Bread URL shortener, which links include, ads designed by the person who shortened them. The service was shut down as of Friday in a wake of the deal. Bread posted the news on its website this evening, although the service and its products, Bread Social and Bread Oven, have been shut down. All shortened Bread URLs will remain active until November 11th. According to the CEO of the company, before the date, he recommended any publishers replace Bread links with ones from Bitly. So Bread staff will get baked into Yahoo's advertising team in Sun Valley, California. That was news this week on, I believe I actually saw that. I think that was on CNET. I saw that. Some other news as well for you developers. Visual Studio 2013 is out. So that was actually released this past week. Visual Studios obviously is one of Microsoft's programming platforms. That was released this week. It was actually the final release. Actually, there's been releases before it. As part of the new release, though, C++ engine implements various different templates, design construction, non-static, data membership individuals, uniforms, some other stuff as well, new features of C++, and support for 8.1 has been enhanced for the new Visual Studios as well. So, and by the way, too, that's, as always, before, it was way before it was announced on MSDN and Dream Spark, and subscribers and stuff like that were able to get it ahead of time. And there's also some express options as well with it. Some other things as well. Ubuntu and Kubuntu have a 13.10 release. Cardinal announced its free Ubuntu 13.10 operating system, surprisingly enough, the same day as Microsoft released 8.1. So that was pretty neat to see them actually go ahead and take a jab at Microsoft. So that was kind of neat. As well, kind of some other kind of neat stuff here. Talking about, man, Windows just got fragged in the news this week. Apparently Google's going to support. You know how Microsoft has a thing where the first thing they do is they kill the browser, and then they kill the updates and all that. Well, apparently Google says don't worry if they kill the browser, because they're going to support Windows XP till early 2015 as far as Chrome goes. So don't worry about that. Apparently the web giant is apparently they're going to provide update security patches and stuff like that for Chrome until April of 2015. So if you're running XP and you can't run IE8 anymore, not to worry, just download Chrome. So that was kind of cool. The other thing that's kind of neat this week, Oracle attacking the open source community, which is really weird to see from Oracle, because Oracle is a huge advocate of the open source community. But Oracle, like I said, they've always had a love-hate relationship with open source technology. But in a white paper of this week, the Department of Defense, Oracle claims that TCO, total cost of ownership, goes up with users with open source because apparently they have to buy support for products. The skill set required to successfully blend source code and open source and related technologies is cost effective in more of labor than it is in licensing. Apparently, it's also said too that government expenses are much more expensive when it comes to implementing open source than it does become Oracle their products. Well, obviously, yeah, but I bet they love it when people use OpenOffice. Google government-sponsored community development approaches to software creation, lack of finance, and all that is apparently the issue. They would rather just buy Oracle and use Oracle as just like that, and buy it with the support. Apparently, say it's cheaper, but who knows? But that's Oracle taking a jab. But again, Oracle being an owner of MySQL, OpenOffice, Java, they're a big advocate of free software. So I'm not exactly sure why they're jabbing, unless they were trying to make a sale, which wouldn't surprise me. When Oracle first bought OpenOffice, I remember reading stories about people who were upset with the way they were treated by Larry Ellison and being treated by the guys at Oracle who took over the project. Really was reading stories about people being mistreated and stuff like that, because apparently Oracle, apparently from what I've read, doesn't treat the people that come over from these other companies as good as they should. So, and that's the thing, that they don't like, Oracle doesn't like outsiders, and Apple, they're the kind of, I don't want to say they're not the same way, but Apple has a certain mind frame that if you don't meet up, act the way they want you to act, you can sometimes get fragged. From what I've heard, anyway, I'm not sure how true it is. I've never worked for Apple, but that's what I've read. So, Google Fiber apparently going to allow people to actually run servers on it. This is actually pretty cool. Google Fiber has actually lifted the bans and allowing people to run personal, non-commercial servers. As long as they're secure and as long as they are running for non-commercial use, they will allow them to run. They apparently have changed there, now allowing personal non-commercial use of servers that comply with the AUP is acceptable, using virtual private networks to access servers from your home, and using hardware and applications that include the capabilities of using multiplayer games and video conferencing and home security. So apparently they're lightening up their restrictions a little bit. Google Fiber obviously is getting bigger and bigger and competing with Fios and all that. They're going to want to be able to make their customers as happy as they can, so this way they don't lose anybody, because it costs Google a lot of money to put Google Fiber in. Broadcom laying off LTE and Modern Design employees. That was in the news as well this week. Shame to see people getting laid off from their job, but apparently Broadcom possibly changing the way they're doing business. So apparently within days of closing its deal to acquire LTE-related assets from Rescene Electronics, Broadcom is now taking the hatchet to its own internal LTE and Modern Design team members by doing pink slips. Apparently, workers will be getting laid off, and the figure could apparently the expenses could cut roughly $45 million in operating expenses over the next 12 months. So fortunately, people at Broadcom are getting laid off, but unfortunately, stuff like that happens. Facebook buys Israel mobile analytics startup company, Anavo, I think it is. Not much news on it, just that they made the purchase. And apparently it will get its first office at Israel. Apparently, there's another thing, too. They don't have an office. I didn't know that. Facebook doesn't have an office there. I thought they would have one there. Apparently, though, Facebook is expected to use the office and to use effectively some of their mobile products. So not much information on that yet. We'll let you know if anything transpires, as things come about on that. Kind of interesting news. We're always talking about good IT practices and stuff like that on this show. Well, apparently Xerox did a routine backup test, and it left more than 17 states without food stamps. People in Ohio, Michigan, and 15 other states found themselves temporarily unable to use their food stamps and debit cards on Saturday after a routine test of backups systems by vendor Xerox resulted in a system failure. Xerox announced later in that evening that the access had been restored for users in the 17 states affected by the outage. In hours after the first problem were reported, restarting the EBT system required time to ensure services were back and fully functional, a spokesperson said. An emergency voucher process was available in some of the areas of the particular problem, but the U.S. Department of Agriculture spokesperson said that the outage was not related to the government shutdown. And those of you that remember the problem with the EBT cards as well, people had unlimited limits. That wasn't related to this or something else, and people were going hog wild in Walmart. So we'll see what happens with this. But it looks like apparently, this was because of a routine outage. It was a little bit different than what happened with the EBT cards. People were going crazy in Walmart. I remember that. That was on the news. It was just crazy. People were buying like thousands of dollars worth of food. It was nuts. And apparently what happened was apparently there was more to that than met the eye. What happened with that was, I guess somebody figured out that they had an unlimited limit, and they put it up on Facebook and started sharing with their friends, and then it just kind of scattered. And that's kind of one of the problems with social media. But, again, more times than not it helps, but, in that case it actually, hurts. So, Hulu hires TV executive Mike Hopkins as CEO. That was news as well. Hulu, obviously now on the Chromecast, Hulu has been up for sale for a while. Disney's looking to kind of offload it, but apparently they're still trying to go ahead and operate and try to turn some profit and make the company look better as they're trying to go ahead and sell it. So that was up for news. That was on the news as well. LinkedIn debuts new apps for recruiters and employees. That was in the news as well this week. Talking about LinkedIn, they're trying apparently they want people to be able to use their service like Monster and places like that, where recruiters can actually go ahead and use their service to actually go ahead and recruit people. But unfortunately, I don't think it's been all of that successful, unfortunately. But they did roll out a new app, and they are trying to draw people in. So for them, I hope it works. But it's going to be very hard to compete with Monster, considering Monster's been up and around for a while. But Monster is lacking the social piece with actually, LinkedIn actually has. So apparently we're going to go into some security news now that I actually dug up. News about the D-Link router vulnerability. This was huge, by the way, this past week. It turned out that just by setting a browser's user agent, apparently you were able to bypass all authentication to D-Link routers. It seems like that HTTPD was modified by. This article is poorly written, by the way. Fortunately, the vulnerability in routers can be easily identified by services like HQ, and at least these models there have vulnerability firmware. DIR10, the DL524, the DL524UP, DL604S, the DL604UP, the DL604 Plus, and the DMG5240. Those are all the vulnerable ones. So what I recommend is, if you have those, I seriously recommend you go home or if you are home, just check your router to see if you're one of those vulnerable ones. But apparently, those are the firmware versions that are vulnerable to this. So you might want to go ahead and just check to see if you're one of the routers. If you are, I recommend either changing the router or turning it off for a while. Some other news as well. 3500's websites hacked by using an exploit in vBulletin forum software. That was on the news this past week as well. An exploit found in the world's fourth most popular content management system, CMS, vBulletin, which allows hackers to create an account on the website with administrative privileges right over 100,000 websites powered by this software. In August, vBulletin users using version 4.x and 5.x of the software were informed and that they needed to remove two directories, the install directory and the core install directory. According to accounts of data security, this was not done. We took a look at vBulletin websites, found major companies like EA, Zynga, Sony, and Steam are listed in their customer section. Apparently, the attacks are able to create an account and access and get administrative privileges. This was in the news as well this week. The image in this article that I'm reading right now says if you get a 404 not found by the sixth request, replies 200, which means that the attacker successfully found the existing resource. So the vulnerability in eBulletin, for successful attack on the website, an attacker needs the vulnerability in vBulletin, upgrade PHP, extracts the URL, and the custom ID. So there's a lot of places apparently still have the vulnerability and they haven't fixed it yet, and apparently this article actually went ahead and actually found out that a lot of the major sites still have it. So I would strongly recommend, if you are running vBulletin, take away those two directories so you avoid getting hacked. GitHub was down for a while due to a massive DDoS attack. That was in the news this week. Apparently the WhatsApp AVG website and some other ones were hacked and defaced with a pro-Palestinian message. That was in the news this week as well, as far as security news goes. So really, there's a lot of really big security news this week, major things. But apparently they were taken down. No news yet on why they were taken down, though. I'm sorry. Excuse me. There is an update on the story. There wasn't one this morning when I checked it. Apparently, it could be. Apparently, one of them was done by DNS hijacking. Some other ones were done apparently by vulnerability in their network solution software. Not sure what that means. Very broad. So the world's largest Chinese Bitcoin exchange hit by 100 gig DDoS attack. That was in the news this past week. Megaspot website hacked by sending a spoof DNS change request via fax to the domain register. That's kind of interesting that we're seeing a lot of DNS hijacking and domain hijacking. Very remember the infamous domain hijacking was when AOL got hijacked. That was years ago. I remember that. I remember that. And apparently there's a vulnerability in WhatsApp that allows decrypting of user messages. That was as well in the news this week as far as security news goes. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk about, obviously we'll take your feedback. Like I said, a lot of feedback we got this week from talking about the government shutdown. Some people were a little upset we talked about it. They had other feelings about it. But it was what it was. It was my rant, and I kind of said how I felt. So if I upset anybody, I'm sorry, but that was just the way I felt about it. And some other listener feedback as well that we get. We got some wonderful questions, some other wonderful feedback, asking about a lot of other things. So we're very, we love all the listener feedback. And again, if you want to give any listener feedback, it's free to call us at our Google Talk from our website, thetechnologygeek.org. It's free on there, or you can call us 570-630-0744. And the only thing I ask, folks, is no bad language. That's all I ask for. Anything else you want to talk about? Tech, geek, you want to talk about anything geeky? You want to talk about Ghostbusters? You want to talk about, the latest PHP script released? You want to talk about Python? You want to talk about any movies coming out? Anything, it's all fair game. It's an open phone line. Anything you want to talk about is fair game. The only thing I ask is no bad language. And the reason why I say no bad language, folks, is just we have no need for it on the show. It doesn't do anybody any favors here. If we were a show, a shock jock show, I would say go ahead, but we just have no need for it here. So, and the other thing is, too, folks, I want to eventually play some of these phone calls on the air, and I know, people say, well, it's a podcast, it can be explicit. I don't want explicit content on this podcast. I think anybody from the age of 5, to the age, 80 should be able to enjoy it. That's why I don't want the bad language. So, and there's just no need for it. I don't particularly care for bad language. So I got some interesting questions. Let me tell you this week. First of all, by the way, I got some criticizing feedback. From some people saying I say the word a lot, or that apparently, some of it was good feedback. Some of it was just like, really. But some feedback I got from people. Somebody asked me, I know you like The Walking Dead. What did you think of the premiere episode? That was a cool question. I definitely liked it. It was raining zombies, which was definitely pretty cool. I liked it. I liked Daryl. I can't wait to see how it ended. I can't wait to see what goes ahead and transpires for that guy dying at the end of the episode. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen tonight. I'll definitely be watching. I'll tweet about it. A lot of people follow our Twitter. That was definitely really cool. I definitely liked it. It lived up to the hype. I can't wait to see what happens this week. So that was definitely cool. I will be watching this week. I'll definitely be tweeting about it. I really like the episode. My favorite is Daryl. He's a big bow hunter. He uses a crossbow. I'm a big bow hunter myself. I think it's really cool. I do like to hunt. I do like the outdoors and stuff. So he's definitely my favorite character. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen this week. But yeah, people definitely were tweeting about that, and somebody left up actually an email about it, and somebody actually asked about it. So it's pretty neat. But yeah. They're definitely my favorite character, and I definitely like the show, and looking forward to it again this week. We wait. It's amazing. There was actually feedback released on that show, and it's actually one of the most popular shows on television, which is really cool. And AMC has definitely done a great job with it. I did like the first season the best. The second season I wasn't too crazy about, but the third season I really enjoyed, and I did like this past season. Looks like it's starting out really, really well. So, yeah, I do like the Walking Dead. It definitely is one of my favorite shows, and definitely is one of the better shows I actually watch on TV. So, definitely something that if you don't watch the show, you should definitely check out. There's actually a podcast that I actually listen to that's all they talk about is The Walking Dead. Even on the off season, they give Walking Dead updates and all that type of stuff. It's actually really, really neat. It's a great podcast. You should definitely check it out. I've actually talked to those guys on email once or twice. I can't remember I don't remember the exact name of I know it's The Walking Dead podcast. You can find that on YouTube. Or I'm sorry, not on YouTube, on iTunes, but they also have a YouTube channel as well that I like. But they're definitely a wonderful, wonderful show. If you like The Walking Dead and you're a big fan of it, definitely go ahead and check out their podcast. It's actually really, really well done, actually. So some other feedback I got as well. Somebody telling me all the time, well, you say a lot on the podcast, and yes, I do. I'm working on not doing it. Fortunately, it's a habit that you have to break yourself of, but I am working on it. And I do get listener feedback like that, believe it or not, folks. I get people critiquing the podcast. I don't mind it. Go ahead and send it to me. I take it with a grain of salt. Some of it's a little bit, some of it's mean, some of it's good criticism. But I take it all. So go ahead and send it. But no, it was definitely some people have good feedback. Some people just give critiquing. Some people, It really depends. I like all the feedback, but some of it's just mean. Some of it does not make the podcast because some of it's just a little bit ridiculous. But I do have, some people do correct me, which is good. And I always say, if somebody corrected me on that, but some people can just be downright mean. But the corrective criticism is good. It's always good to be judged by your peers. So some other news as well. I'm sorry, some not news. Oh, excuse me. This was a question. Excuse me. How can I send email as SMS to an iPhone? That's actually a really good question. I actually had to do some research on that myself, and I found a site that just happened to have information. Apparently, you can send it. You can send info. You can take your 10-digit phone number. I'll give you an example. Like AT&T would be the 10-digit number at txt.att.net. There actually is a way to do that. You have to actually look it up through your provider. I wasn't even aware you could do that, but that was kind of neat. I actually found it. So that was actually a really neat question and definitely something that is useful to know. So definitely take that one. Take that one. If you want to be able to send somebody a text message via that, do ahead and do it. So some other news as well. I'm sorry, another question. I keep saying news. Well, it's news and it's a question as well. I should say. Somebody said I know iGoogle's going to be going. They said, sorry, here's exactly how they wrote it, because I have Google Voice and actually transcribes it for me. As you know, iGoogle's going to be shutting down very shortly. How can I export my settings from iGoogle? I know a lot of people are going over to Yahoo for since iGoogle's going out, but there actually is a way to actually export. I believe it's the XML file out of iGoogle. There actually is an option there, and you can actually then import it into a lot of other places that actually do. I know like NetVibes and places like that, you can actually import the XML file settings from iGoogle. They're actually allowing it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Yahoo went ahead and did that very, very soon as well. So that was somebody asked that question. Somebody asked, should I upgrade my iPhone to the latest iOS 7? I did myself. And I have an iPod that did it itself. So if you don't do it, Apple's going to be forcing you to do it. So I'd recommend just going ahead and doing it on your own without being forced to do it. That's what I would do. Some other questions I have. I want to have a guest on my video podcast. What's the best software to use? Was another question somebody had. This is actually a really good question. And I actually kind of had to think about this one for a minute. What I would do is I would use Google Hangouts. And because you can dump the video right over to YouTube. I mean, that's actually the easiest and best way to do it, I think. And I actually experimented with this a little bit myself. You can actually, I would just go ahead and just use Google Hangouts and dump the video right over to YouTube because you can do it that way. That's what I would do. Another question somebody had was, how can I set up a pop mail server? Here's the thing. If you really want to do pop mail, you can do it yourself on a server. If you do it on yourself on a server, it's very, very easy. You can do it like Ubuntu for like next to nothing. Just throw it on some hardware, virtualize it. The other thing I know a couple of people have done that want to have pop mail, they actually just set up a Yahoo account or a Google account because Yahoo and Google both do pop natively. So that's another option you could do if you wanted to. I also had a couple of other questions as well. Somebody had also asked me, too, what do you think of the new Haven series? Because people know I watch Haven on Sci-Fi. I like the way they went with it. I like now that the season's a little further in. I wasn't too thrilled with the first episode or two, but now that the season is really starting to unravel, I think it definitely is doing much better. And I definitely like the new season. I like the way they're going with Audrey, and I like the way they're going with the particular series. So. Also, too, as well, somebody asked me as well, will you be watching TNA Bound for Glory tonight? I will not be buying the pay-per-view. I haven't bought a wrestling pay-per-view in a long time. Not that I don't think it's not a good, I like pay-per-view, but I just don't feel like spending the money right now. But definitely Bound for Glory, definitely really cool. Kurt Angle being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It definitely is definitely going to be a good show, and they're definitely going to get a bunch of people over this particular show. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with AJ. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Again, this is our 26th podcast, and hopefully we will see you next week. I have a lot of things going on next weekend, but I'm going to try to do the podcast anyway. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will see you next week here on the Technology Geek podcast. Thank you very much.